Hi, welcome to this fourth session in the course Basics of Human Resource Management. In this session, we are going to look at the performance management function, which is a very important function under the HR department. So what is performance management? Performance management is the set of processes that aim to measure and improve employee performance in line with an organization's objectives. So basically, it deals with people's jobs, how they are doing their job, and how their jobs or their work which they are doing aligns with the organization goals. So by linking employees' work with an organization mission and objectives, the employees and the organization understand how various jobs contribute to the organization. So it's at a very basic level, performance management is basically both the company and the employees understanding what their jobs are, understanding how the jobs are to be executed, and measuring if the jobs are being done as per agreed standards. So why do we need a performance management function? So a good performance management system or a function is critical to build employee morale and satisfaction. See, a performance management system gives the employees an idea of what is expected of them, so that they can do their jobs well, and once they achieve their expectations, once they meet their expectation, they get a satisfaction and a morale booster. It is like your exams, right? So you know what are the passing marks required to pass an examination, or you know what do you mean by an A grade or a first class. If you didn't know that, how will you do well in your examination, right? So for example, let's say the passing grade in a subject is 40 out of 100, 40 marks out of 100 marks. So you know before going into the examination that if I get 40 marks, I will clear the examination. Likewise, if a first class is something like 80 marks, you know that if once you get 80 marks or more, you get first class. So you also get a satisfaction. Now if you did not have that idea, how many marks are required for getting various classes, how many marks are required for getting distinction, will you feel satisfied after you have given the examination? No, right? So likewise, performance management in the corporate world is like that marking system or a grading system, that before starting your work, you know what it is required to do well in your job, you know these benchmarks, and you try to achieve them as an employee. Another reason is that it improves organizational performance, because employees are motivated to do their job, they know what is to be done, and they know what are the benchmarks required to do a good job. They contribute more in their jobs, and hence the organizational performance improves. And the third is react to changing business scenarios. So the industries which we are seeing, so industries are ever changing. There is no industry which has remained the constant throughout the last several decades. So there are always new trends coming up, new competitors coming up, there are new features in the existing products or services that have to be built. So a good performance management system can anticipate these changes and include all the changes or the new opportunities which are in the industry into the performance management system. So for example, if you are, let's say, working for a telephone firm, something like a Samsung or an Apple, a performance management system can say that over the next 2 years we need to improve the speed of our processor. So every mobile phone has a processor, and so the agreed upon standard is that right now, let's say if the speed is say 3 gigahertz, we might want to improve it to 4 or 5 gigahertz over the next 2 years. So once such standards are set, once such new trends in an industry are organized and codified into the performance management system, the organization can react to changing business scenarios in a far better way. So how does performance management happen? Let's look at the process. What are the key steps in a performance management process that the HR department undertakes? The first step is planning. Okay, so for every employee that is working in an organization, there has to be a planning process for measuring his or her own performance. So performance management process, although it is one process at a department level, for individual employees the process differs based on their job profile, based on the kind of work that they are doing, based on the kind of department that they are in. So first step is planning. So in collaboration with employees, the HR manager reviews overall expectations of that employee for that particular department. We'll take a look at how it happens using an example in the next slide, but just for right now, just understand the critical steps under the planning function. So the HR manager meets the employees. It's a one-on-one meeting with every employee, and they review the overall expectations of that employee over the next 6 months or a year. Typically the performance management process runs for a year, so we look at 1 year ahead. Okay, then list individual performance goals. So the HR manager will ask the employee, what do you think you should be doing, what are your goals? So for example, today if you are working, or let's take the example of mobile phone manufacturing. Okay, so today if a worker is able to manufacture, let's say 50 phones in a day, maybe his performance goal is to, over the next 3 months, he would like to manufacture 60 phones per day. Over the next 6 months, he might want to take it up to 70 phones a day. So likewise, for every function, for every job role, there is an output, and the employee can specify what his or her goals are. So these are individual performance goals. Then it's not just enough to have individual performance goals. What are the organization expectations from the employee? Okay, so right now let's take a student's example. A student might want to say that, in the final examination I will score 60 out of 100 marks. That is his own expectation. But let's talk about his parents. His parents might want to score him 70 or 80 out of 100. So there is one employee's goals, and then there is organization goals. And once both these goals are listed, you do some sort of negotiation to arrive at a mutually understandable goal, which is okay for the employee as well as the organization, and you finalize written, verifiable, mutually understood performance expectations. This is very important. The output of this planning phase is a list of parameters, specific parameters, on which both the organization and the employee agree. The next step is checking in. So once these performance goals are established, there is periodic performance review meetings or surveys. So let's say you have finalized your performance goals over the next 1 year. So there will be quarterly meetings. Quarterly means every 3 months. So every 3 months the HR department will get in touch with all the employees, check their progress against the goals which they had finalized, and they will give feedback. So for example, are they doing well on their goals, or are they lagging behind? If they are lagging behind, there might be some corrective actions which are required. For example, if an employee who is not able to deliver on the goals assigned, maybe a further training is needed to that employee. Maybe some sort of correction in the job's roles and responsibilities are required. So all these corrective actions can be taken early, at an earlier stage, rather than waiting it right till the end of the first year. And the third stage is review. So this is typically at the end of a performance period. So it is typically 1 year. So at the end of 1 year, every employee's performance is reviewed against expected objectives. It also reviews, HR also reviews the means used and behaviors demonstrated in achieving those objectives. So it is not just enough to achieve these goals, but you have to achieve them in the right way. Okay, so for example, let's say a customer service company may have the target that every employee must interact with, let's say, 100 customers a day. That is the goal. It is not enough to achieve this goal. It is also important to understand how they are interacting with the customers. Are they spending enough time with the customers? Are they solving customers' problems? Because if these things are not met, the overall objective of serving 100 customers a day is not going to help the organization. And after this year, in whatever data comes in this review phase, that can be used in promotions and pay scale reviews. So somebody who has done very well on his performance management, who has met all the goals and objectives in the right way, that person can be suggested for a promotion or an increase in salary. And then plan for the next performance period. That is the final stage in the review. So 1 year is over, the next year is starting very soon. So once 1 year's performance review is finished, the last stage in that performance management system is to plan for the next 1 year. So basically repeat this process all over again. So let's take an example performance management process for an IT project. Let's assume that this is a 1 year long IT project. So in planning, what will happen is the HR will sit down with the entire project management team. So a project is typically executed by 7 or anywhere between 3 people to 10 people. For complex projects, these number may run into as high as 600-700 people working on a project. So let's take an example of a simple IT project. So the HR department will sit with the project team. They develop and project plan outlining key deliverables and the timelines. So you decide how long this project is going to run. Let's say let's assume that this project is going to run for one year. So there will be definite deliverables or outputs at periodic periods. So what are you going to do in the first 3 months? What are you going to do in the next 3 months? So at the end of every 3 months there will be a well-defined output. So this is typically done in the planning phase. So checking in phase, so at the end of every 3 months, so quarterly performance review of project. So sit down with every team member, understand what he or she had said in the planning phase, that in the 3 months I will do these things. Have they done these things? If yes, then move on to the next phase. If not, what was the reason for not doing these things? Take some corrective actions. Maybe they require more training, maybe they require more support in terms of understanding the project better. So basically this is what happens in the checking in project phase. And the last is the review. So 1 year has passed, so hopefully the project has finished. So the HR again sits with each and every team member and reviews the outcome against each team member's goals defined in the planning phase. So let's say one team member was responsible for one particular module in the project. How has that module worked? Is the module up to the mark, up to the specifications which were agreed in the planning phase? If yes, then of course the employee has achieved his goals. So use this data in promotion and pay scale reviews. If not, then you will have to find out the reasons. The HR will have to talk with that particular employee plus that employee's manager to understand why these goals were not met, what can be done. So take corrective actions, and then the last step is, once all this review is done, you plan for the next project. Now finally, what does a good performance management system do? It provides an objective basis for measuring and communicating about performance. It is very important. Objective basis. Okay, it is not subjective. It is not like somebody says this is good, this is bad. What do you mean by good and bad? Again, coming back to your exams, what do you mean by somebody who has done well in an exam? Is 90 out of 100 a good performance? Is 80 out of 100 a good performance? Is 100 out of 100 a good performance? Unless you create those benchmarks like you have in your examination, right? Maybe 90 above is distinction, 70 to 80 is first class, 60 to 70 is second class. So we have provided, or we have designed an objective basis for measuring and communicating about performance. Secondly, enable the employee and organization to differentiate between acceptable and unacceptable results. If you do not have a performance management system, if you are not agreed upon what is a good output, what kind of output is to be achieved, you will not be able to differentiate between a good performance and bad performance. Third, enable the employee and organization to differentiate between acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. So like I said, it is not just enough to achieve your goals, you also have to achieve them in the right way. Serve as a basis for transparent and result oriented compensation policies. Compensation policies is basically your salaries. So at the end of a year, when typically every year your salary is revised, sometimes you may get a bonus, sometimes you may get an increment, sometimes your salary may not increase. In rare cases, the salaries can actually decrease for somebody who is not working well. But how do you justify that? So employees cannot complain, right? Somebody might complain, why did this person got 20% higher salary, but I got only 10% higher salary? Now, if you didn't have a performance management system, it will be very difficult to explain. But when you have a performance management system, the HR department can show the results of this performance management to those employees, saying that this employee achieved 9 out of 10 goals, that's why he got a higher salary, but you achieved only maybe 5 or 6 out of these 10 goals, so you got a lesser salary increment than that person. So this is a transparent and result oriented compensation policies, and it builds an open and trusting organization culture. People know what is expected of them, people know how they are going to be measured. So it builds an open and transparent organization culture. So that is the end of a brief review of performance management. I hope you understood this module, and all the best in your studies.